Hello everyone, my name is Sada Muhammad Unggul Nuswantoro from Pragmatic class. Today I want to explain you about interference and reference. Reference. We might best think of reference as an act in which a speaker or a writer use linguistic forms to enable a listener or reader to identify something. Inference. Inference is refers to process of using observation and background knowledge to determine a conclusion that makes sense. Example: those linguistic forms are referring expressions, which can be proper nouns. For example, Shakespeare, Caterefulto, Hawaii. Non-phrase, which are definite. For example, the author, the singer, the island. Indefinite. For example, man, woman, a beautiful place. Pronouns. For example, he, her, it, them. Next, name and reference. A truly pragmatic view of reference allows us to see how a person can be identified via the expressions. Example, the cheese sandwich, and a thing can be identified via the name. Example, Shakespeare. And for example again, it would not be strange if someone asks his friend the question, "Can I borrow your Shakespeare?" "Yeah, it's over there on the table." Notes: given the context just created, the intended referent and the inferred referent would not be a person, but probably a book. Notice the pronoun called it. Example again, in a restaurant, one waiter brings out an order of food for another waiter and asks him, "Where's the cheese sandwich sitting?" "He's over there by the window." Notes: given the context, the referent being identified is not a thing, but a person. The pronoun is he. The role of co-text. When appeared as a headline, "Brazil was a referring expressions and wins World Cup" was part of the co-text, and the answer is the rest of the newspaper was more co-text. The referring expressions actually provides a range of reference, that is, number of possible reference. Returning to a previous example, we can show that while the press, the cheese sandwich stay the same, the different contexts in the following examples lead to a different type of interpretation in each case. Example: the cheese sandwich is made with white bread, refer to food, and the cheese sandwich left without paying, refer to person. Anaphoric reference. In most of our talk and writing, we have to keep track of who or what we are talking about for more than one sentence at a time. After the initial introduction of some entity, speaker will use various expressions to maintain reference. As in the film, a man and woman were trying to wash a cat. The man was holding the cat while the woman poured water on it. He said something on her, they started laughing. In English, initial reference or introductory mention is often indefinite: a man, a woman, a cat. In the definite noun-phrase, the man, the cat, the woman, and the pronouns it, he, her, they are examples of subsequent Reference to already introduced reference, generally known as an anaphoric reference or anaphora. In technical terms, the second or the subsequent expressions in the anaphora and the initial expressions is the antecedent. In many cases, that assumption makes little difference to the interpretation, but in those cases where some change or effect is described, anaphoric reference must be interpreted differently. Example: from our side, the initial referring expression "six potatoes" identifies something different from the anaphoric pronoun "them", which must be interpreted as the six peeled and sliced potatoes. Note that pronoun "it" is used first and is difficult to interpret until the full noun phrase is present in the next line. This pattern is technically known as cataphora and is much less common than anaphora. There is a range of expressions which are used for anaphoric reference in English. The most typical forms are pronouns such as it, in, but definite noun. Phrases are also used, for example, the slice. In example, peel an onion and slice it. Drop the slice into hot oil. Cook for 3 minutes. When the interpretation requires us to identify an entity, as in cook for 3 minutes, a non-linguistic expression is present. It is called zero anaphora or ellipsis. The use of zero anaphora as means of maintaining reference clearly creates an expectation that the listener will be able to infer who or what the speaker intends to identify. It is also another obvious case of more being communicated than is said. Okay, enough for me and thank you.